You can't condemn it because you're a fucking coward, right? Because you're worried that you're next. You're worried that you're going to burn in hell for eternity if you condemn God. You don't think that God is merciful. You don't think that God is just. You don't think that God is loving. You think that if you say, hey, I don't think that God should have said that we should burn women alive, you think that you'll be in trouble with this God. That's how much of a fucking coward you've become of a God you have no evidence for. That's pathetic, Kiki. Kiki, are you a Christian?
I am, and I basically want to explain why you do not have to agree with the point that you brought up from Leviticus in order to be Christian.
Okay.
Right.
By the way, Kiki, would you take it? Would you cut that part out of the Bible?
No, I wouldn't, and I can explain why.
Okay.
I think first of all, who did you say said that in Leviticus?
Jesus.
Right, that's the first issue, is that the Leviticus is an Old Testament book, and there are within the Bible there are two covenants, the Old Covenant and the New Covenant. When Jesus comes, that's the end of the Old Covenant. The Old Covenant, generally, the Old Covenant law.
Let me just say real quick, Kiki, like I have scoured the New Testament. I've scoured all of the Gospels. There's not one mention of Jesus coming.
He's born.
No, he was born, but he never came. Like I don't even think he definitely didn't have sex. He might have masturbated, but I don't remember. Like there's no mention of him coming.
No. Huh? That is not what I mean. The spirit of the New Covenant is about forgiveness and love. It is not the same kind of fire and brimstone that you see in the Old Covenant.
Well, that's not true, though. Because fire...
Widely it is.
Well, hold on. No, hold on. Fire and brimstone, what is that referring to?
It's just a saying.
I know.
It's fine. It's
but what does it refer? But what does it refer to? But no, this is a serious question. I would say it links
back to Sodom and Gomorrah.
That was like, but what? Not that wasn't fire and brim. That was fire and brimstone.
I'm linking it. I'm pretty sure it was, but I'm linking it back to that spirit.
Guess what it is. Guess what it is. It's hell, and hell doesn't show up until Jesus. So Jesus is all fire and brimstone. And the Old Testament, although the Old Testament is just like stoning. That's what they're into.
Right, no. The point that I'm trying to make, the burning to death thing that you mentioned earlier, is a punishment by humans upon a human for an action that they deem to be immoral.
No, Jesus said it. Jesus said it.
No, he didn't, because it's in Leviticus before he was born.
Oh, no. Oh. Maybe you're not a Trinitarian. Don't you think that Jesus and Yahweh are the same? Oh, well, then Jesus said it.
No. But the new covenant is God's chance at a second chance.
I totally forgot. This is what you sound like.
That was in the Old Testament. We don't read the shit in the Old Testament. I'm not even sure why it's still in print, but that's the dickish God from the Old Testament.
He's a dick.
Sure, he told you how to keep them slaves, and yes, he commanded.
Don't talk over the song. Don't talk over the song.
Only one small tribe were his personal things, but no one worships the God from the Old Testament. Do they? Do they?
Does anyone worship the God from the Old Testament?
Right, it is the same God. Just let me make my point. In the New Testament, in John chapter 8, Jesus very specifically, when the Pharisees ask him whether or not they should be stoning a woman who's committed adultery to death, he says, no, they cannot, because you can only throw the first stone if you are sinless. None of us are sinless, therefore nobody can throw the first stone. We have no right to bring about punishments, for example, like burning a woman to death for an action that she has committed.
No, he doesn't say that. You're adding to it. He says we shouldn't do things like burning a woman.
No, he doesn't.
That's what I said. He doesn't say that.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Or the priests, because the priests were extra holy. They were super, super special. Jesus thought that they needed to be like on another level, and because of that, he was having. This is true. This is true.
What Bible study experience do you have?
I read it.
Yeah, you read it. You don't understand any of the context.
No, what? Any of the what?
The context around the Bible.
There's an AI. I should warn you. There's an AI. And that shit. sorry.
I don't know what it means either, but the context.
When you say certain
the
words,
answer must be hidden in the context.
this is annoying.
Don't ask me what the context is, but all I know is it's context.
I have this AI that when you say certain words, it will start playing a song. So like if you like say a lot of like things that Christians constantly say, different like cliches, it triggers the song. So I apologize for that. But you said context, and that shit. I said it now. Sorry about it. No, I'm just joking. So Kiki, this is the problem: is that you don't want to separate Jesus from Yahweh. So Jesus must have been the God that was saying that you should burn women alive. So if he is also the God that is saying, hey, don't stone women anymore, he's just contradicting himself, because he did say that you should burn women alive. Look, do you think that no one ever said burn women alive, or that God never commanded anyone to burn women alive?
As I've said, old covenant, new covenant, but apparently you can't get that in your head.
I'll just like grant you, right? Jesus, who is also Yahweh, but in a different form, doesn't want women to be stoned and doesn't want women to be burned alive. Okay?
I would say Jesus does not know.
I'm granting that Jesus, who is also God, doesn't want anyone to be burned alive or stoned.
Yes.
But Jesus, who is God and also Yahweh, did indeed want women at some point for a very long time, up until Jesus showed up, to be burned alive, correct?
Look, I have explained this to you very, very simply.
What am I
missing? I spent 2 years studying the Bible, theology, religious ethics. Okay? I know what I'm saying, and the New Covenant essentially cancels out those more unforgiving laws in the New Testament.
How?
Sorry, in the Old Testament.
That's an interesting study, but Kiki, really, like, help me out, okay? I'm not attacking you or anything like that. But like, and really follow this. So like, try to really have this as a conversation, okay? So I have a problem. I'm an ex-Christian. I was raised Christian, okay? So I know this religion, all right? That's my Bible study experience, is being a Christian most of my life, all right? So I have a problem here, because when I read the scripture, and you have to, the Bible says to be ready to give an account for the hope within you or whatever. So when I read this scripture, it says that Yahweh is being quoted as saying he wants women to be burned alive. Okay, that's Yahweh, who I know is also Jesus. So we don't separate those two, right? So later on, Jesus says, hey, by the way, let's not do the stoning thing anymore. And you're conflating that to also mean, or you're like broadening that to also mean, let's not burn women alive anymore or anything like that. Okay, fine. But at a certain point, this God did require women to be burned alive. He thought it was a good thing to burn women alive. You have to fix that problem. And Jesus doesn't fix it, because it would have been something that could have happened for thousands of years. How on earth does Jesus change the women that were burnt alive? Like, what are you talking about?
Well, fine then. If you disagree with it so much in that sense, I don't know. Maybe God forgives them and they go to heaven.
No, but they're women. What I'm thinking is, I'm like, here is a woman, a live woman, with like a woman piece of like an actual woman who's like alive and she has a body and everything, and she is like maybe thrown on a fire, or maybe she's tied to a post and they light a fire around her, and then in like brutal agony she dies while her skin lights a flame in an excruciating way. And you're saying that, like, fuck, maybe she goes to heaven. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, you empathy-less piece of garbage?
What I'm saying,
like, you really think, do you have, let me ask you this, and I know, do you have a daughter by chance, or any women in your life that you love?
Yes, I have multiple women.
You want to see these women burning alive, and you think you would see that? You think you'd see that and be like, well, as long as they go to heaven, this is all good, Or she deserved it because she played the prostitute. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Think about this. No, but seriously, Kiki, I want you to think about this person as a person. Can you do that for a second? I am
thinking about them as a person.
Okay, so this is a human life, a woman like you, who, because she was a prostitute, she is burned alive. And you're making excuses for it?
All I'm saying, I can't explain the old covenant because I'm not
Because
God,
it doesn't
quite
make any
frankly.
sense.
Right. So all I'm saying is
Because it's not
I can't
loving.
defend or explain the
right.
Old
Because
Testament.
it's disgusting, right?
Well, I'm not God. I can't explain that. Fine. All I can say is that is not
you can
in the spirit
read
of
it.
the New
You can
Testament.
read it. Who cares? The God of the New Testament is the God of the Old Testament. You can't pull them apart.
I know. But
so Jesus
right, so the Old
Christ
Testament
that
is no
you
longer-
love, Jesus Christ that you. This is what you have to deal with, Kiki. Don't run away from this. This is what you. I'm not a Christian. I got out of it. I don't need to deal with this anymore. You have to deal with Jesus Christ, who you love, this sweetie, this sweetheart. He said, sometimes it's good to burn women alive for like nothing.
Look,
because they're making their dads look bad. No, you can't deal with it, right, Kiki? And I don't want to be mean. I want to actually be inviting to you. But you can't deal with it. That's why you want to leave. Because you don't know what to do with this.
But I've made my point. I've said we're not abiding by the rules of the Old Covenant
That
anymore.
doesn't fix the Old Covenant. You haven't told me how that fixes anything. If these women are being burned alive, how does Jesus, thousands of years later, fix any of this?
You cannot change the past. All you can do is change the future.
He can. He can change what he said in the past. He was all-knowing. He's timeless. He didn't have to say, burn women alive. There was no good reason for this. And by the way, this is 2 chapters after he says, love your neighbor as yourself. It's the same God. And this is the God you worship. And you think just because he said something nice, like, let he who is without sin cast the first stone. By the way, that's not saying, let's not stone anyone anymore. He's just avoiding it. He's just avoiding the question like some sort of a lawyer. He's just being a weasel. He's weaseling out of it. And Kiki, if you want to, and you might not care about this, but if you wanted to be a little scholarly about it, that story doesn't appear in earlier Gospels. It comes in later, so people think that it was added later just to make Jesus look better. But anyway, be that as it may. He's just weaseling out of it. He's not condemning the practice. He's just like trying to find a way that he doesn't get in trouble.
No. Very basic logic, right? You can't cast the first stone unless you are without sin. There are no humans who are without sin. We all sin somehow or the other. Therefore, none of us can cast the first stone.
This is a clever way of dodging a problem, right? Because
it's not. It's a way of showing the Pharisees that they're wrong.
Yeah, but again, we don't need to I get that you like to deal with the Jesus thing because you think it's nice. It doesn't solve the Old Testament. Unfortunately, we still have those problems, and you haven't given me any good reason to see that. Oh, it was fine that he said to burn women alive. But you also, and this is the thing that breaks my heart, Kiki, is you haven't condemned the law where he said to burn women alive. Can you at least just condemn that and say that like Yahweh shouldn't have given that law? Jesus should never have said to burn women alive? Let's do that.
No, Jesus never said to burn women alive.
Well, he did. Because he's God, right? I and the Father are one. So Jesus, who is Yahweh, said, burn women alive. You know that that's true because you're Trinitarian. So stop being disingenuous and just condemn the burning of women alive. Just say, I condemn the law where he said, burn women alive.
Well, no Christian is going to do that. Because we're not going to contradict the Bible. We may not understand it, we may not agree with it, but no one is going to
why can you not understand that it's bad to burn women alive?
No, I understand that it's bad, and I would not.
Okay, so just condemn the law.
Condone it.
Condemn the law.
But Christians, we can't condemn the Bible. You are Christian, were Christian. Therefore you know that.
Does that put a pit in your stomach at all?
It doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, but what if it did? What if it did? What if Jesus came down and you're one of your friends, you didn't realize this, but she was a sex worker. She wasn't honest about, like, she didn't tell you because she thought you're a Christian. Jesus. You'd be ashamed of her. And Jesus comes down. He goes, no, you guys are getting this wrong. I actually love that old law. So your friend April is now going to be burned alive. Now your friend April is going to be burned alive. Do you stick to your guns? Do you go? God can do what he wants.
What you've just suggested is completely out of line with the biblical Jesus.
It's not really, because he's God, right? He's still Yahweh.
Yes, I know, but if you actually read anything that he has said, that is not in line.
You're talking
all.
about one moment where he says, "Let he who is without sin
No, the entire.
Okay, he comes down, Kiki. He comes down. And he goes, "By the way, no one else burn her alive. I'm going to do it because I'm without sin. I'm the only one who's without sin. I'm going to burn her alive. And by the way, she's going to burn for eternity in hellfire, because that's my other thing that I invented that I really, really like. And you're going to be there and go, well, that's God. I mean, if he wants to do that, I can't really question that. And you see April, and she's screaming as the flames lick her tender flesh, and she's like, no! And you're going, and you're would you smile because God is love and he's just and he's good? Or would you go, oh, wait a second, God's a piece of shit for burning a woman alive right now? Which one would you go with?
Right, well, it wouldn't happen because we are now in the
you can't even deal with it. You can't even deal with it because it's so heinous. And yet he did command it.
No, because you are making stuff up. Mate, you're making stuff up at this point.
Kiki, okay, fine. Imagine it was you and April in the Bible times. Just imagine that then. You don't have to do it now. And Yahweh told them to burn the women alive, and your friend is going to be burned alive. Are you cool with that?
As I've said, New Testament, Old Testament.
No, but the Old Testament. So you think none of those people actually lived in the Old Testament. That's what you think. That's cool.
No,
I think.
Right.
No, obviously you don't think any real people were burned alive, even though the Bible says that they should be. You just don't think it happened. You don't think it's real.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is I can't.
Okay, then if it was real, because
there are certain things that are mystery that are left down to faith.
Well, look, I can answer it. I'm not a Christian, so I can say, hey, that's disgusting. To burn a woman alive? To burn a woman alive. That's absolutely fucking horrendous. But you can't say that, Kiki, because you're morally bankrupt. So now you're on a live in front of 400 people. It's 500 people on both platforms. And you look like a complete piece of shit fuckface because you're okay with women being burned alive at some times. You can't.
I'm not.
You
I've
can't.
Never said that.
Yes, you can't condemn it.
I'm saying
then just condemn it. Then just condemn it.
What I'm saying is I cannot change the
You
past.
cannot condemn it because you're a fucking. I'm getting a little bit wound up, but I think you can't condemn it because
you're personal.
Kiki,
it's very unprofessional.
You can't.
Actually.
I'm not a professional. You can't condemn it because.
Then why are you debating me?
Kiki, you can't condemn it because you're a fucking coward, right? Because you're worried that you're next. You're worried that you're going to burn in hell for eternity if you condemn God. You don't think that God is merciful. You don't think that God is just. You don't think that God is loving. You think that if you say, hey, I don't think that God should have said that we should burn women alive, you think that you'll be in trouble with this God. That's how much of a fucking coward you've become of a God you have no evidence for. That's pathetic, Kiki. I'm not usually this, blunt, but that's kind of pathetic. Do you think that there's some truth to that?
Does it make you feel big to be saying all these things?
No, I'm just asking, do you think there's some truth to that?
No, but all I'm saying is you cannot. Would you do the same thing? There are other.
Let me ask you this.
Practices, religious.
Why then? Let me ask you this. Why then? Yeah, I think it's wrong that women were burned alive when their husbands died in India. I think that that's wrong too. But let me ask you this. Do you think, let me ask you this honest question. Why not condemn this law? You know it's wrong. Why not condemn women being burned alive in the Old Testament as commanded by Yahweh? Why not just condemn it?
I'll tell you it's not right. I don't know enough specifically about the entire book of Leviticus to be able to explain the entire context.
You want me to tell you? You want me to explain the context for you? So
no, I know enough to not need it to explain to me. But
okay, so
I will go as far as to say that I do not think it is right.
Okay, so you kind of condemn it. We're getting there. You kind of condemn the law. By the way, I'm not asking you to say that God doesn't exist, that Jesus didn't die. I'm not asking you to do any sins. All I'm asking you to do, and by the way, I don't even know if there's any verse in the Bible that says if anyone condemns any of these laws, they will be put to none of that. I don't think that's there. There's no reason for you to defend this. You didn't write it. Why don't you just go, yeah, you know what? If Yahweh gave a law to burn women alive, I condemn that law. Like, that's wrong. That should not have been. He should have come up with a better idea than that. I don't know why you want to do that.
My advice to you, if you want this 100% answering, is to go and speak to a priest or a well-trained pastor who can completely answer all of your questions.
So you're just like that's why I think that Christians are morally bankrupt, because they can't they can't say that something like that is wrong.
People I know.
They may be like friendly or whatever, but they're morally bankrupt because they can't say that burning a woman alive is wrong. Isn't that weird? Don't you think that's a little weird?
Well, no, to us right now it is wrong. Also, you have to
Kiki,
I have made my point.
You probably don't know this, but let me just say this. I could make you say that killing babies is sometimes good right now. Like if I wanted to, I can make you say that killing babies is good. I could make you say that stoning virgins is good. I could make you say that sometimes it's okay to force a woman to marry the guy who sexually assaulted her.
I do not follow all of the laws of the Old Testament.
You don't have to follow them. You won't condemn them. You won't condemn Yahweh. So I can make you say so many horrible things because you won't condemn it. You should feel weird about that. Like if I can make you say in like 2 minutes that sometimes it's okay to kill babies, you should be looking in the mirror going, what do I believe? What do I follow? You want me to do it?
Well, no, because that is not, as I've said to you, the Old Testament is the Old Covenant.
But you still wouldn't condemn it. But Kiki, you still wouldn't condemn it. You would still have to say that sometimes it's okay to kill babies, right? So it doesn't matter. The covenant game doesn't matter. So if I show you that Yahweh commanded the slaughter of babies, like fully grown adult men going with swords and stabbing babies to death, if I show you that he commanded that and you can't condemn it, then you believe that sometimes it's okay to kill babies. And that's your worldview. Don't you think that's scary? Like, doesn't that worry you?
My worldview is the worldview that comes from what Jesus taught.
But you can't ignore the Old Testament. You can't ignore that because the Old Testament underpins the New Testament. The Old Testament gives you, the Old Testament gives you the prophecies and all those things. So you have to believe that that's true and that Yahweh is real and that Yahweh commanded these things. So you have to say, oh, it's sometimes okay to kill babies so that you can believe in Jesus. That sucks. That sucks. And I'm sorry that you have to do that, but that's your religion. And that's what I'm doing here. Like, I would cut all of that out of the Bible. It's horrible. But you don't do that. You don't condemn it. And that's worrisome, don't you think?
Look, as I've said, I have made my point. Old covenant, new covenant.
Kiki, deal with it. Deal with it. No, you're not. You know I'm right. Like, I know what you're saying. I understand the new covenant, old covenant. I know that concept, okay? So I get that. But that doesn't change that Yahweh did these horrible things and you won't condemn them. So this is about you. This is about your heart. This is about your morality. This is about what's going on with you because of this religion.
Based around the fact that I wouldn't go out and do that.
You wouldn't go out and do it, but you must say now, and this is the thing that I don't have to ever say. I'm gonna say, killing little infants is egregious. It's always wrong. Like, adults going and stabbing babies to death, that's horrific. That should never happen. You can't say that.
Well, no, I can because I would never condone it. But
okay, so in 1 Samuel, I'll just make you say it. In 1 Samuel 15:3, this is what God says through Samuel. He says, "Now go attack the Amalekites and totally destroy all that belongs to them. Do not spare them and put to death men and women, children and infants, cattle and sheep, camels and donkeys." Do you condemn this command by Yahweh?
It's part of the Old Testament.
Do you condemn, just say, I condemn this command by Yahweh. It is never okay to kill babies. That's all, because that's what I'll say it first. I condemn this command by Yahweh. I don't think it's ever okay to kill babies. Now you say it.
I don't think in the New Testament and under New Testament laws.
So Kiki thinks, by the way, everyone, Kiki thinks, because she's a Christian and she believes in a God that's good and loving and just, she believes that sometimes it's okay to kill babies.
No, I have not said that.
Yes, you have, because you haven't said, to just say that it's always wrong to command anyone to kill babies, Yahweh was wrong to kill babies. Just say that.
In 2025, it is always incorrect.
No,
to do things
it's
like
always wrong. No, it's always wrong. So in 2024, it might have been okay?
No, fine.
So when
the current day
what
and
was
age, any time after the new and the new
anytime after the new, so
correct.
before the New Testament, it was okay to kill babies. Just say that then.
No, but look,
Kiki, listen, hold on. I know people are saying I'm bullying you because I am being a little bit full
yes,
on.
you are bullying me.
But Kiki, listen to what I'm saying isn't wrong. What I'm saying isn't wrong. This sucks. This is hard. Like you can't say that. Like I'm feeling sad for you. I want you to be able to say that. That's why I'm doing this. By the way, Lisa, you say leave her alone. You're free to go if you need to, Kiki. I don't want you to feel like I'm being aggressive or I'm trying to like tear you down or hurt you. I'm saying that the worldview puts you in a really tough place. Like, why are we saying sometimes it's okay to kill baby? Why can't we just say it's always wrong? And then you want to attribute words like loving, good, and just. All loving, all good, all just. And yet you just will like accept the killing of babies and the burning of women. What's happening? If I were you, like what's happening with you, Kiki?
As I've said to you 50 gazillion times, the rules that I follow are the rules of the new covenant.
No, I know that.
Which
I've already told you. I know that there's no reason to repeat it. I know that. But we still have the problem of Yahweh actually saying these things and you, for some reason, not condemning them.
No. The New Testament, okay, and the New Covenant is God moving away from that.
From the things he said. So then does he think it's wrong? Maybe he wants you to condemn it. Maybe he thought he was wrong. Maybe he's sorry he did that. Why are you not just condemning it then? If he's moving away from it.
Because I'm not God and I can't claim to understand everything.
He changed his mind. Why wouldn't you be able to understand this? It's so simple.
Because I am not God and I do not have godlike knowledge.
I guess you're saying something like this.
His ways are higher. Who cares if the world's a mess?
Is this you? You're
His ways are higher. I'm too blessed to be stressed.
Fuck the babies.
His ways are higher. I'm gonna say it with my chest.
His ways are higher. Fuck them.
His ways are higher. This is a big barbaric test.
It doesn't matter.
Just pawns in a game of chess.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make me love him.
No, I would never love him any less.
I'm too blessed to be stressed.
No, I would never love him any less. I love him because he loves me, and yes, he commanded us to kill people to kill babies, and he commanded people to burn women alive. But like I'm blessed, baby. Like, come on, Kiki, you're better than this. I think you're better than this.
All I can say, I know no Christians who would condone that as a practice now.
Of course, because you guys are better than your Bible. You're better than your God. Your God condoned it. The problem is that you're not.
You also have to consider the context of just how things were back when the Old Testament was written.
Why? Is God timeless? Is God timeless? Can he do anything? He's all powerful?
All I would say, in the Old Testament, there is usually a reason that things happen that we may not understand.
Is God all powerful and he knows he knows everything and he can do anything any way he wants?
Yes.
And he's timeless? Okay, well then I don't think the time of whatever the life thing really mattered. But you know what? It's really simple, Kiki. You just have to commit one way or the other. Because if you are lukewarm, he will spew you out of his mouth, right? So why don't you say that I think it's good sometimes to kill a bunch of little babies. So all you have to say is it's good because that's what God did. So in that time, it must have been good. So just go in that time, it must have been necessary for human beings to go and stab a bunch of babies to death. Why don't you just say that?
As I said to you.
Okay, so you don't. So just say are you going to say yes or no?
As I've said,
just say, hey, Kiki, commit. I've already done the trap. This isn't a trap. So are you going to say yes or no? And I think the answer is no. You can just say no. It's fine.
I can say that I wouldn't condone it.
No, you're not going to say. You're not going to say that it was wrong that Yahweh did that. Just say no.
Look, I can't.
All right, I'm just going to
100%
assume.
condemn it
I'm just
because
going to.
I can't
Yeah.
say
You're not going to
that
say
I
it.
completely understand the reasoning
Okay, so
behind that.
But okay. All right. Let's explore.
Can I ask you this?
I'm going to
What is the
explore. Wait.
reason
I'm going to
then
explore.
that he gives for doing it.
Okay.
The context around it.
All right. Good. Perfect. Before we do that, I'll tell you, it's not good. It's not going to be a good reason. It's not going to be a good enough reason. But like,
What chapter?
come back to the app. It's 1 Samuel 15:3. And I will tell you, there is a reason, but it's not a good reason. But let me ask you this first really quick, because this is interesting. What reason do you think would be satisfying to kill a bunch of little babies? Like, in your imagination, what could you imagine would be necessary to kill a bunch of little babies?
In my 2025 brain, there is not a reason now.
Right. So that's good, and that should be still the perspective. So the reason that they do this, the reason why God is doing this, is because He wants to get back the Amalekites for what they did to the Israelites 400 years prior. So that's vengeance. So there's little babies. Hold on. There's little baby. I don't need you to tell me about the Old Testament, New Testament covenant anymore. That doesn't make this better. But you understand that if 400 years prior, these people's ancestors did something bad, little babies don't deserve to be killed for that, right? You have to say yes to that, Kiki. Come on. Like, at least give me that much.
Is that in the Old Testament, okay, the Israelites are the only chosen people. However, Jesus is the chance of everybody to be reconciled with God.
Who cares? Yahweh/Jesus told his people to stab babies with swords, Kiki. Who gives a shit about Jesus after that?